You want to be strong, you want to be functional, and you want to be aesthetic. Those are the things that you want to, and some mix of those. Too much of one thing and not enough of another, and you end up in trouble. So the first 16 weeks, heavy focusing on squats, deadlifts, these type of things. And now we've moved into a more refinement where we're doing low rep training on the first day and higher reps on the other day. There's some other nuances. That's oversimplification, but I just wanted to give you a little heads up what that was like. Now, this week was interesting because it was another road trip. I was out to the JJ Virgin event out in Phoenix. Shout out to JJ and Carl and everyone that went there. And it brings up traveling. And traveling is a big factor when you're staying on dietary compliance. And so a few weeks back, we went to the Bulletproof conference, and I have my set routine where I usually go to Whole Foods. They usually have the things that I want. I'm on a very specific, essentially it's a vegan diet. I'm doing this all on a vegan diet. Matt's doing it on a keto diet. Some people are doing it on a paleo diet, but the diet's irrelevant. It's the compliance to the diet, assuming that it's right to you. And of course, this time traveling is where most people go off. You go to special dinners, you don't get the regular food, you maybe change your times, and you eat too much, eat too little. And usually it's you eat too little, then too much, maybe miss some workouts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you got to really dial in your workouts. The cool thing was at this event, I nailed it. I didn't miss any of my dietary choices. I didn't miss any of my workouts. I was able to stay 100% compliant with everything that we were doing, which was really, really exciting, and happy to do that. Very excited. The fact that we were able to pull that off. And now the body's starting to round out. We're starting to get very close to the condition I was, basically back in 2003. When I was competing at the Mr. Universe contest, and I'm doing that without TRT, no hormone replacement therapy. I'm on no meat, and I'm following this because we've worked out the nuances. We'll be sharing more of these insights of the specifics in the new year with the launch of the new book. We'll talk about that probably on another time as we get closer to it. But basically, dialing in your preparation beforehand is so key. And for me, it's, in this case, the Whole Foods that I usually get my stuff from, that was available. Some people have to do meal order services beforehand. That works well for them. It's going to take you maybe 2-3 times of traveling, especially if you're very travel heavy, to kind of dial in. Now, your first time out, your second time out, like my big event, the first one was the Bulletproof conference, and unexpectedly, they didn't have the things that I wanted or typical at that Whole Foods in Florida, which put me behind the 8 ball, which I made some critical errors. Now, I didn't make errors that took me out of the diet. I chose to just eat less and less frequently. But I would say that doesn't make me feel optimally. And I had to take a little bit of extra time to kind of recover. And I was kind of burnt out a little bit from it. And that's what happens. And if you do too many of those, you end up in trouble as well, especially when you're doing weight training. And I want to talk about weight training, resistance training. And some people say, well, is that body? You can call it bodybuilding. I mean, first and foremost, let's be clear. There is virtually nothing that will contribute to the aesthetics like weight training with weights strategically, not just lifting weights as a functional form. That's one way of lifting weights. I'm talking about lifting weights to put muscles on in different parts of the body to offset the symmetrical ideas, the aesthetic ideas that the human eye automatically picks up. I was not born with great aesthetics. However, through weight training, I was able to put muscle on in different parts of my body to improve my aesthetics to the best of my genetic capabilities. It's been a fun game. It's really enjoyable. It's kind of like art. And that's how I approach weight training. A lot of people have a misidentification with bodybuilding, with weight training, being strong. You want to be strong, you want to be functional, and you want to be aesthetic. Those are the things that you want to, and some mix of those. Too much of one thing and not enough of another, and you end up in trouble. Why am I saying that? Well, if you are following a weight training diet, you are putting an extreme load on your recovery process. And if you're doing intermittent fasting, alternate day fasting, where you're restricting calories to an extreme, as many of those programs do on a day-to-day basis, it's going to impact how much weight training you can do, how much muscle you can build, and how well you will stabilize your metabolism. Because there's more to dieting than dieting. Any fool can put in, okay, I take this many calories, I just go in this much, I have a 500 calorie deficit every day, I lose a pound of fat a week until I get my goal. Yes, that's true. But if you don't your body will adapt to that, and the nuances of your results are going to change, especially as you get into this 2 and 3 and 4, second week. Here's what's interesting. I'm 18, 19 weeks in, and my metabolism is actually better than when I started. Now, most people can't say that with their diet. And that's a result of weight training. I am doing some biohacking stuff on top, a little bit of cryotherapy. I'm going to get into some rebounding soon. I'm about ready to pull that trick out, which is really great for the lymphatic system. So I got a few tricks in reservoir that I've been saving in case I need it. But overall, we've got the metabolism humming. I'm waking up warm. So if you're waking up cold or cool, that's a good sign that your metabolism is actually slowing down, not increasing. You want to feel, I always like to say, you want to feel the fat burning. Well, so what does that mean? Like, feel the fat burning. There is a specific state that you will feel when you're sleeping or when you're waking up in the morning, that you will actually feel the fat burning on your body. It's very clear. I know what it is. I did it many times. And I'm literally waking up in that state every day. And that's a sign that my metabolism, the ratio between the calories intake, the macros that those calories are, the training that I'm doing, and the recovery modalities are working synergistically together to create the state where my metabolism is staying revved up as opposed to slowing down, which is what happens when people get into extreme calorie depletions. I did that. I did a 21 day, I lost 21 pounds in 21 days. I did extreme levels of alternate day fasting and got into decent shape very quickly. But what happens is that sets up a rebound. And so I was right back up to my old weight in a very short order. And my body was more resistant to do dietary stuff. I did that as an experiment to kind of see what would happen and show people. I kind of knew what it was. Prior to that, I did a 12-week one where I did alternate day fasting for, actually it was about 14 weeks, got into great shape again. But again, there was a rebound effect because my metabolism was slowing down, not speeding up. This one with a slow and steady state, with a very specific concentration on the how frequently I'm weight training and how frequently I keep the calorie deficit, my body's metabolism is revving overdrive and the results are getting better, not worse. And what's very fascinating about this stage, and I'm really looking forward to my DEXA scan. Your DEXA scan is not going to reveal all of the nuances when you get down to sub 15%. And what that is the variance between how it reads your body fat, your muscle mass, bone density is going to depend on calories in, carbohydrate levels, time of day, and other cofactors that may not be apparent. So you could do I've literally done things like bioimpedance DEXA scans back to back on the course of the day, and they gave me different readings. Well, how is it that I lose 3 pounds of body fat or gain 3 pounds of muscle, or lose 3 pounds of muscle and gain 3 pounds of body fat in the course of an hour? No, of course I didn't. It's variance within the machine. What you want to look for is a steady and significant trend in the drop of body fat while the maintenance or increase of lean body mass. Second, you want to make sure that you're feeling metabolized while you're doing, like you're feeling feel the fat burning feeling. And 3, that you are feeling energized, like you're feeling your best, you're still functional. If you go into the dysfunctional zone, then it's very hard. And if I don't have those meals in a regular area, right, I'm on that fine line. If I don't have that frequently dispersed meals in a great way, I will get overclocked. And I've gotten overclocked a few times, but now that we're into this, where we're 18 weeks in, I've refined and tuned. And that's where your biofeedback comes in. And there's one other piece to that. You want to take pictures in the same place at the same time every other week. Every 2 weeks is good enough in combination with your weigh-ins and your DEXA scans. That way that you're getting more of a delta of factors. You're seeing it, you're looking at the weight, you're looking. In the last couple of weeks, my weight hasn't changed that much, but the differences in my physique have changed significantly. In other words, there is a recomposition that's happening that's not read in the DEXA, it's not read in the scales, but it's certainly seen visually. Do not underestimate their capability to pick up the nuances. And of course, that is why the best in the world in aesthetic culture are brought up that way, or they're measured that way through coaching. So the idea here is you want to not just look at your weight loss program or your calorie program or your psychology or your preparation is independent of each other. They need to all be tracked simultaneously so that you're comparing all these data points. So overall, you're headed in the right direction without going off a cliff, and that you're finding enough feedback so you can make those course adjustments as you go. And when you're traveling, that becomes more and more prevalent. So traveling adds an extra stress on the body. It adds extra elements that you have to work things out. So a little bit of preparation in advance will allow you to be successful, as we're able to illustrate. As far as emotions and how I'm feeling, I always like to check in on that. I'm feeling great, feeling really positive. I'm very, very close to my physical goal. And we still got, half the time to go. Another 6 weeks before I'm halfway through this. And the beauty of it is we're going to start blowing some minds as I start doing my refeeds. And I'm going to show you some of these refeeds, and it's going to freak you out. And that specifically to what I'm talking about today. How do you keep the metabolism revved by doing strange things that people wouldn't imagine work, but actually do if you understand metabolism, your diet, your training, and your biofeedback. So that's it for today for 50 Weeks to 50. I'm Wade T. Lightheart from Bioptimizers. If you have some questions or answers that you'd like for us to review for you, that'd be great. We'd love to have them. Take care, lots of love, and stay healthy.